We have an injury update for both Pascal Siakam as well as Fred VanVleet as the Raptors' grueling schedule to start the season continues to unfold. We also have some history being made by Raptors' rising star Scottie Barnes early this year and a whole bunch more to talk about. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors side, just breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And folks, we're on that road to 27,000 subscribers, so if you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding the Toronto Raptors, definitely hit that subscribe button. But let's jump straight into the news. And the first thing we're discussing is a Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet injury update. Now, Pascal Siakam, as we discussed in the post-game reaction last night, had a very scary slip down there in Dallas in the game last night where news came out from, I believe, Josh Loomberg broke it. Mark Stein also touched on it, that he strained his groin. And that is a very unfortunate injury to suffer as a basketball player. All your quick movements, without your groin, if that's strained, if that's injured, you're just unable to do a lot of those motions that are essential for basketball, and it's something Pascal Siakam has dealt with in the past, both in 2019 and 2021, so that's been very scary. And Fred VanVleet has also been out since last Friday with lower back stiffness, where he had that ugly game against the Philadelphia 76ers. So we have an update on both of those guys' injury situations right now. It's coming from Aaron Rose saying that Pascal Siakam is doubtful to play for tomorrow, while Khem Birch and Fred VanVleet remain questionable. Now, neither Fred nor Khem played in the game last night against the Dallas Mavericks. However, they are both listed as questionable for that game. And Fred VanVleet's essentially been questionable for this entire week and hasn't been able to get out there on the court. Now, questionable sort of indicates that any given game now they could potentially return, whereas doubtful indicates that there's a chance, but very, very unlikely a player will return. Now, I don't want to dive too deep into the Fred VanVleet. I think he's being treated as day-to-day. Doesn't seem like an injury that's going to keep him out for a long-term period. I don't expect him to be out for many games that much longer. Khem Birch is also a guy that's solid off the bench, which I think we'll be seeing those two guys return in the coming games. But the Pascal Siakam one, in terms of doubtful, is a little bit more scary as a Toronto Raptors fan, as Pascal Siakam has been the rock for this Toronto Raptors team starting off this year. Not only is he scoring the boatload of our buckets, he's getting boards, he's playing defense, and his at-it playmaking this season has been core to the Toronto Raptors half-court offense, full-court offense, whatever they're out there doing. And he's looked at as doubtful, which might be a little bit encouraging rather than a surefire out, rather than a timeline like out indefinitely or something like that, or he's expected to be out for a month. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be getting my hopes up just yet in terms of a quick return for Pascal Siakam. As we have Ali Rendeli, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, coming out on Twitter. I don't have the screenshot of it here. I'm reading off my monitor that I saw right before we recorded, essentially saying that she's an MD. So according to her Twitter, I looked in, obviously anyone could put MD by their name, but responding to Josh Loomberg, the tweet is getting some traction, essentially saying that the number one risk factor for a groin strain is a prior injury. Now, Pascal Siakam has dealt with injuries both in 2019 as well as 2021. So she goes on to say that the rehab can be longer for recurrent abductor strains and could be out for weeks or months. The complex anatomy of the groin means two injuries can coexist. Now, that's coming from an MD, the Twitter doctors out there, and, well, I guess you're not a Twitter doctor if you're a real doctor, but that's coming from a tweet there. But that was my big worry following his groin strain in the game last night. I forgot he had that injury in 2021, but was sidelined for a good few weeks back in 2019 there when, he had that groin injury. So hopefully it's not something that'll keep him out for a long period of time, but I really don't want the Raptors to sort of rush him back in hopes of early wins this season. We don't want to injure our, superstar player. We don't want our guy Pascal Siakam, who's been having such a tremendous year, an All-NBA season last year, to, have something that's chronic, that's going to be serious. And, man, it's just super unfortunate that he ended up slipping on a wet spot, right? There's nothing you can do about that. It's a freak injury. And, to re-aggravate an injury he's already had, just extremely unfortunate, especially with the season that he's been having. So prayers up to Pascal Siakam. Let's hope that Spicy P ends up returning very quickly. But we got more news to cover surrounding this Raptors team. The next thing we're discussing is Scottie Barnes making history. Now, I forgot to discuss this in the game last night, and I didn't want to confirm it. I didn't want to go all out with it because there was confusion in terms of the stat monitors. I saw different things, but Scottie Barnes ended up becoming the youngest Toronto Raptor to record a triple-double for the team in, the team's history. So that's pretty cool. He didn't have a great scoring night, really turned it on in the fourth quarter, but as the point guard, did a great job of facilitating, rebounding. He was the primary matchup on Luka Doncic, which, I thought he played solid defense, but no one's going to be able to stop Luka Doncic on every single possession. I thought we did the best defense we could. Maybe run OG Anunoby a little bit more on him than Scottie Barnes, or at least switch up the matchups, but Scottie Barnes just continues to come out and have all-around games. He's consistently, 8 for 8, or 9 for 9, or I don't know how many games the Raptors have played in terms of winning the Scottie Barnes Award. So he's coming out, getting triple doubles, filling up the stat sheet, and once again, playing well as the Toronto Raptors lead facilitator while Fred VanVleet has been out. Hopefully Nick Nurse realizes that, hey, we can sit Fred VanVleet some minutes, let Scottie Barnes run the point guard. When Pascal Siakam comes back, let him run the point guard. But injuries are a serious concern for this team now at this point, and we don't want to overload our starting players. So having Scottie Barnes is sort of a safety valve to, dial back the runs for our, primary ball handlers. That's going to be key for us going forward this season. And hopefully he looks at the end of that last game too and realizes, hey, if I'm getting paint touches, if I'm being aggressive driving to the rim, not only am I going to score more points for myself, but I can create more opportunities for my teammates. So I was encouraged by Scottie Barnes' game last night. Didn't have the, greatest game by his own standards, right, in terms of just being in complete rhythm, but getting a triple-double in a game where it feels like you're kind of off is a huge plus for this Raptors squad. So shout out to Scottie Barnes on that front. The next thing we're discussing is Siakam falling down in the MVP ladder. Now, this is something that happened before the injury, so we can't really point to the injury as the reason why he fell down the MVP ladder. But Pascal Siakam, while he's maintained that wild tear of 20-plus point scoring games, getting a bunch of assists, getting triple doubles himself, somehow fell down the MVP ladder in the most recent rankings. And this is essentially where he's ranked right now. He's ranked at 8th behind Damian Lillard, who's going to be out for a month. Jason Tatum, who did have a big game against the Cavs the other night. Jokic, who's the former MVP, and Shea, ahead of Jokic, as well as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been absolutely nuclear down there with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I guess the Raptors' record could be a reason for the ranking in the ladder be going down a little bit, but the Raptors continue to have the toughest schedule in the NBA to start off this year, so I'm a little bit cheesed because Pascal Siakam, he's been putting up wild numbers, and now it does look like he might be out for a while, so we might see him really fall down in these rankings, but MVP, top 5, P, whatever you want to call him, right, has been having an MVP level season, so to see him falling down the ladder, just a little bit cheesed at that as a Raptors fan. And the final thing we're discussing, the final thing we're talking about in this video is the Raptors have a top 6 odds to win the NBA championship. Now, I've been saying top 3 seed for this Raptors team. That's been my prediction to start off the year. The injuries have just been grueling to start off the season, but we maintained, a very solid record throughout. And, 538 is giving us some props. It's just an algorithm that sort of predicts who will be winning the NBA championship. What are the odds? What are the probabilities? And the Raptors are getting some love by this algorithm. Currently, the Celtics are randomly number 1 in these rankings. The Bucks are number 2, who are undefeated. I think the Bucks should probably be ahead of the Celtics here. And then out west, you have the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Mavericks, the team we just lost to. And then third in the Eastern Conference, we have the Toronto Raptors, ahead of the Miami Heat, ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers, ahead of a bunch of other teams in there. Saying that we have a 7% chance of winning the finals and a 13% chance of making the NBA finals. So, I'll take it. I've been saying top 3 seed this season. 538, they're agreeing with my prediction. So we'll see how it all actually plays out as the season goes along. But we really need our guys back healthy, especially Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, if we're going to make it happen. But folks, you guys are the best for making this far. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.